Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. Welcome to another episode of the MP Insider with your host, Corey Ryder.
We are back for another episode of the MP Insider, hanging out today. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in and sending everything. Stephen Ford, how are you? Good to see you already chiming in. Super stoked today. Been poking, prodding, begging, pleading, and been working on this dude since SEMA 2019 to come on the show. So I'm super stoked to get him here. But today's the day that we're gonna just sit back, chill out, talk cars, talk life, talk off-road racing a little bit. And I'm super happy to have Andy Kimball in the studio with us today from Bug In Promotion, from Periscope Promotions. You guys know him for the Bug In and Drag Day and Silverado Camp Out and I mean, just so much more. So Andy, dude, thanks so much for coming in and hanging out with me today, man. It's going to be fun.
Thanks for having me, man.
So, man, where do we even get started? We got Eddie on the, so guys, as always, make sure you start, sending us the questions and DMs. We got a bunch of questions already that were submitted to people, submitted by people for Andy, and kind of just anything you guys want to talk about today. We're going to talk about some off-road racing. Like I said, we're going to talk about the kind of the state of the union, essentially where we're at in this uncertain times and kind of what's in the future. And Eddie's going to give us a hand on filtering some of those questions as well. So it's cool to see everybody already logging in, man. VTO in the house. What's up, Ford boys? Rick, the driver for the MP Express team's already logging in, and that dude, that the guys have seen the videos and pictures of all the race cars on the semi truck. Rick's our driver, man. Rick gets it done. Been racing a long time. Good morning from Palestine. How are you? So I mean, the questions are already rolling, man. I dig it. Nicole is already signed in, so our plan is working perfectly already. Nicole, we got some really fun stuff for you, so hang tight. It's going to be good. And then Michael Frank, Andy, so questions already coming through. Andy, can you talk about my squarebacks or why squarebacks are the best Type 3 model? I mean, this is the stuff that we want to see. And
Mike Rennion?
This is Michael Frank.
Oh, yeah, that's my old roommate. He's a Type 3 guy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we got squarebacks.
But yeah, just cool to see everybody, the four brothers. Thank you guys for chiming in and coming to hang out with us. Champ watching from down the hall. That's boy. What's up, Adrian? How are you guys? MP Adrian's in the house. I mean, we've got it's going crazy, dude. You can see all this stuff. So, we're here, we're hanging out. Man, where do we want to get started at, Eddie? What do you think what do you want to rock out the gate first?
Let's do a recap. How was the race? I mean, you just got back, so this is like the first 5 minutes I get to spend with you. So I don't really know much.
Podium, third place.
Yeah, man. Yes. For those of you guys have probably seen on Instagram and some other posts, but I did break and earned my nickname now, so that's good. I did finish the race, or my team did. Timmy, my co-driver, and kind of brought it home at the end. We finished third on the podium, so it's pretty awesome to.
Out of how many cars?
I think there was 11 class 11 cars.
I
started literally dead last of the entire race of everybody. I mean, so what was there, 100 and some entries in all the cars? So, the course was considerably rougher from even when we pre-ran it, and it was brutal.
Track to go on the last guy out.
Yeah. So started dead last. Just tried to get my groove early on and had a great co-driver with Tim Sletton next to me, and just, I wanted him to feel everything that we were working on and what we were doing and where I felt the car was at and some of the stuff that I was feeling. So it's kind of cool to get that point across to where we were at, and freaking had an awesome time, man. I mean, and to be able to battle with some people and legitimately overtake some cars, and just, I needed to get that. I needed that one in the pocket, man, because it wasn't the best showing for me in my first snore race.
How did you do at the Glen Helen race? What'd you end up?
I think I finished 6th or 7th overall. So
quite an improvement.
Yeah, I mean, it's on my third race. Yeah. The first one was upside down in stitches, so I can't. But it was really interesting because the first race that I did was a snore race.
Yeah.
And that was one where I crashed and rolled the car with Cameron. And then we did the Glen Helen. But the Glen Helen, I went in with a plan with Glen Helen is just get comfortable.
Yeah.
Get kind of the confidence back a little bit, get kind of my groove, feel the car out. And then, very next weekend was the off-road, the KC HiLites Midnight Special there. And to do my first night race as well as like this whole new event.
Yeah, but how do you like it compared to like Glen Helen, where you're on like a nice groomed track with jumps, to like a night race where you're out in the desert and there's whoops and sand and
everything?
I mean, it's like night and day, right?
It is night.
Literally.
It is literally a huge difference. And I think they're both fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
The cool part about Glen Helen is I think you can hang it out a little bit more and not have to worry about being stuck in the desert.
Yeah, and you're
kind
not
of sitting there on your ass.
You don't have to bring spare tires and spare parts. I mean, you're just on a track, and
it's you know what, it's fun. But the nice part about the short course is it's the same thing over and over again. When we're out racing in the desert, and you got a trophy truck trying to climb up the back of you, and on a narrow pathway, narrower than the room we're in.
Jeez.
And he's going to mow you over or wants to mow you over. And I'm like, I'm not going to stick it in the ditch over here and trying to dodge all the obstacles along with that. It's different, man. But that's what's the rush. And then to have him pass you and you're just getting roosted, with everything. And then the dust is the killer, man. That's probably the hairiest thing for me out of all of it is just the dust.
Yeah. But the class 11 guys, cause I did a lot of racing down in Mexico, and I've done, chased the Baja 1000 from Ensenada to La Paz a few times, and the trophy truck guys, they're like the celebrities down there at the beginning of the race. You go through contingency. Everybody wants to take their picture with the trophy truck guy. At the end of the race, the class 11 guys are the heroes, because if you finish Baja 1000 in the class 11, I mean, we had a 7 truck. So our 7 truck would come, a couple people take pictures. I remember this class 11 came in right behind us, and just the crowd of people after this guy just finished 1,300 miles, they would just surround this car. And the class 11 guys, I mean, those are the heroes of off-road racing. And when you do a race like Baja 1000 or Baja 500 and you're down there, that's the class that I have the most respect for. Like those guys in a car like that, with that kind of suspension, that kind of motor, limited in every corner you could be limited in. Those guys are the heroes of off-road racing, in my opinion.
Heroes are stupid. My God, there was a couple things that I hit, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna hurt tomorrow, And
what do you think about doing the Baja?
We're in, dude. I mean, we are 100% trying to make this happen for next
racing
year.
In Baja.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's what you're gearing up for, right? Like you're just kind of, but
that's really our plan.
Because we haven't talked about that at all.
No, we've been kind of keeping it on the DL for a little while.
Oh, let's talk about that.
So my new pit boss, Andy Kimball, is now kind of falling back.
Nicole's on there, right? Ask Nicole if I get permission to
Nicole, can Andy come play with us sometime soon? There's just a lot of things that we want to do, with this. I mean, we want to push this and really show people. I mean, the reason is not just to go out and go racing, right? I mean, that's one of the things I wanted to stress about this whole venture. It's not about, me in a race car. For me, and what we're trying to do here with the brand and with the company is really showcase that our off-the-shelf parts can be competitive at this level, and something that's limited, like you said, limited on every facet of the car itself. I literally buy off-the-shelf tie rods, off-the-shelf empty ball joints, off-the-shelf axles and CVs and everything else, and I'm out there beating the living shit out of this stuff, and it's holding up. And it's podium and it's winning. And that's what we really want to do, is a mission for me to say, hey, look, we can do this. And this is what it's about. Sins of the past is one thing, but let's show you where we're going in the future.
Absolutely.
And so our entire motor package is off the shelf stuff. The empty cam in the damn thing, for crying out loud, to people, I mean, it makes power. You see the whole shot, you saw the car leave, and it's holding up.
Yeah. Glen Helen, you had a nice little whole shot there.
Yeah, baby. I'm living on those right now.
I saw you out front of everybody.
Yeah. Till that first corner got I was blinded.
Yeah, that third jump, man. It was like right out of the whole shot, like 1 jump, 2 jumps, and that third jump, everyone was just airing it out. Yeah. And I think that's kind of where like Wilkie and the 11 Brothers car, they just were gone after that. They took off, and those two battled for quite a few laps. I
mean, Wilkie's got really, really good suspension on his car. I mean, the dude can drive. That's one of the things that people need to understand, is flat out the kid can drive. And then you mix in the fact that he's driven, his Baja there, put some laps on it before and knows that course. I mean, But the thing is, I think a lot of people didn't expect him to be such a good driver kind of out of the gate.
It's pretty impressive at Glen Helen. It was pretty impressive to watch him. I like the 11 Brothers car, just swing axle car.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that.
Swing axle car racing class 11. That's just pretty impressive. Like, I thought that was pretty awesome. But I talked to him for a while after the race about the car, and I didn't realize he built like pretty much all the cars that were there.
Yes,
that was pretty interesting.
Dennis, you got another customer coming up here. I think we're now you can actually fit in the thing, dude. Lower the seat down. I mean, it's ready, and you know what? It's just a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw my smile getting out of there. Even I didn't do the best, but I did what I wanted to do up there. But it's infectious.
Yeah,
and I think the crowd enjoyed it, and for who was there and stuff like that, it was just a lot of fun, man. So yeah, stoked. But to get back on point, man, we did finish third.
Yeah, right on.
I saw a comment on there about my car being called the Catfish because it lost the fenders. So yes, we did lose a fender. Rigid Industries, thank you for the headlight, but I'm going to need another one because it never was turned in. I know it was somewhere around mile marker 21, 22.
It's on somebody's garage wall right
now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we're going to have some fun with it, but it was just an awesome experience. The freaking course was brutal. I mean, it really was rough. First gear, uphill, big whoops. When we talk about 3-foot whoops or other stuff, it's not just a rolling.
It was a Gene, right?
Yeah.
Gene?
Yeah. Gene. Because I'm thinking Prim. But
Prim State Line. Gene's the one that's all like, has the big truck stop now with the big gas station.
Yeah, so it's across the way from there. There's some really cool shots of the whole start finish right against the hillside and everything else. So it was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? But it was rough, dude. It was rough. So I mean, I'm pretty sure we blew the shot. We put it this way: it was so rough that the brake reservoir, the regular dual circuit, plastic reservoir, was rattling around so much it actually broke that holder off of the freaking thing. And I mean, it did some damage to the front of the car, and where like the spare tires just beating on the cage and stuff. But thanks, Timmy. Appreciate it, guy. You're gonna have some fun on that one to finish her up and get it ready. But yeah, I mean, dude, that's a blast. Super stoked to be a part of it, and for all. I mean, I'm gonna give a shout out to all the MP Racing team and the guys that make this possible. A lot of people forget, dude. It's a operation out there. There's a lot of guys that take the day off work. They're missing time with their families, but they're out there because they love it so much. But you've got the pits, you've got multiple pit locations.
I couldn't even imagine trying to organize the logistics of doing an off-road race, because just from doing drag races and car shows and how much goes into that, like an off-road race where you're spread out over such a large area and you got contingency and you have all this stuff. Putting on an off-road race, man, those guys, it's all about the volunteers, because they have some awesome volunteers, even down in Mexico, like the Score guys. There's a lot of people involved putting on an off-road race.
Yeah, but I want to shout out to all those guys. Obviously all the Sletton family. Big shout out to you guys for everything you guys do for us, and glad to have you under the MP Racing Team umbrella. Obviously our cohort and wild man himself, Wilkie, but all the guys that go out there and pit, like Jimbo and Rick. Rick's burning the midnight oil trying to make sure he can get the day off to load the rig to get out to the race, to come work 16, 18 hours, out in the heat. And those guys are standing out in the heat and, waiting for it to come through. So none of this could be possible, though, the success that we're having right now without those guys. And we appreciate it, even if they do forget to put gas in the car. So gotcha, Jimbo. No, it's just a really good time. So it's awesome. And it was really cool. So, you got to come out to hang out with us at Glen Helen, which was rad.
I love that. Was awesome. That was really cool. That was the first off-road race I've been to in a really long time. So
kind of resparked.
It's never been gone. Like, the spark's always been there. I love off-road racing. It was a big part of my life for quite a few years. And then I met my wife and got married and kind of stopped going to Mexico and, other priorities. It's kind of about the time I took over my dad's business and didn't really have the free time to, spend, 3 or 4 times down in Mexico chasing races. So, but I love it. Off-road racing is like the ultimate adrenaline high. I love being a part of it.
I'll let you drive my car.
Oh God, stop it.
Yeah, we're gonna get you out there. I mean, even if we only get you to go to Mexico once a year, but we're gonna get you to go. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, Eddie, like, the plan is to get to Baja next year. get myself a little more comfortable, get the car kind of worked out a little bit better.
Right.
There's some upgrades that I want to make to the car itself that I think it needs. But we've been doing this on a shoestring budget and a hand to mouth kind of deal, and we'll get through it, you know. So we're gonna have some fun and just continue on. So
I got a question for you. Another one
for me.
Yeah. What's the next race?
Next race depends. At the very least, we'll do Battle at Prim, which is until October.
Okay.
So we got about 2 months off.
Right on.
But there's one more race that I was looking at in between. We got a lot of work to do on the car.
Right.
She got pretty hammered. I'm not gonna lie. We gotta service the tranny. I mean, you know, one of the things that's been instilled from the get-go of this whole thing is, you know, not that we're chasing a championship, but races are won in the garage. They're not won on the race course. So, you know, we've been really fortunate to have a car that's not had any issues. So we're going to continue that pathway. So Lucas Hand, he's champing for Baja for sure, and the tacos. So yeah, I know that today is Greg Cottrell's birthday from Rugged Radios, and he was talking about his 2 favorite taco spots down in Baja.
Oh man, there's this one called MK Taco in Ensenada. It's so good. Man, they got these queso tacos. Like
queso. Tell me more about this queso taco. I'll say that Lucas Hand here he's a big dude, man.
It's a taco. It's just big carne asada taco, but then they put that white cheese in it, and then they put it back. Oh my god, they're so amazing. Like, you know, there's quite a few good taco stands down there in Ensenada.
Yeah, he said my poor car needs some love. Yeah, man, she's a little wounded right now, licking her wounds, but that's all right. She was a good girl this weekend. Man, let's talk about you, dude.
All right,
let's talk about you. What's cracking? What do we got going on? I know a lot of people were asking about that stuff, and
not a lot is going on, unfortunately.
Yeah, nowhere, right?
Yeah, you know, it's hurting everybody. 2020 is kind of down the drain right now. We had to cancel, of course, our first 3, 4 events already this year, and we only really have one more event held out for October. And right now, I'm not very hopeful it's going to happen, just the way the last few weeks have developed with the whole virus thing. The owner of the track, Tim, he's really optimistic about us getting us back there. But the city, I don't think, will issue us a permit, and, you know, without a permit, can't put on an event. So right now we're just kind of waiting. You know, if this whole COVID thing takes a really good turn for the positive, then maybe we can have an event in October. But right now I'm focused on 2021. That's my big thing, is I want to come back next year. We have 5 or 6 events planned next year. We got 2 drag days, Bug-In, Silverado, Big Wednesday, and then next year's also Treffing year. So we'll have 6 events planned for next year, and I'm just hoping we can get through all this and then, you know, get over it, have a good winter, then come back next fall and start having car shows and drag races again.
Yeah, and hopefully we can make Las Vegas another points, you know, part of that whole deal too. So we're putting that out there as well, and see if we can put together.
Is Corey Mack still planning on doing a Las Vegas drag race?
Yes. Yeah? So the plan is to push it. The plan, you know, if it's done and executed, but it is to push it to 2021.
Yeah.
You know, they held the deposit and everything else, so which is fine. And that's kind of what we were really.
Yeah, we're trying to do the same thing as, you know, we have deposits in, and we're going to try to push them to 2021, and hopefully, you know, not have any issues then and have a full series like before.
Yeah, and I don't want people to think that, like, you're not being optimistic about it. As far as you are really optimistic. You're just.
I'm right now, like, I was very optimistic for October. You know, about a month ago, if you would ask me, I would said October is going 100%. Now, I really don't know. I mean, it's so hard. Like, I thought we had Bug-In planned for June, and we moved the date. We had an August date as a backup date, and then Auto Club Speedway, of course, said they're canceling for the rest of the year. So, you know, I was optimistic for that August date, and then when Auto Club shut down and the COVID thing's getting worse, like, I really, you know, I don't know what to expect for October. And right now, the only way I could stay positive is thinking about 2021. Like, 2021, I think, is going to be a great year. Like, if we can get through this, like, 2021 will be awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, it'll be a great year for car shows. I'm hoping everybody comes out of the woodworks. They're going to be itching to get their car down the track. They're going to be itching to walk a swap meet. They're going to be itching to, you know, put a car in a car show. I'm hoping 2021 is like the year of the Volkswagen. You know, I'm thinking that if we focus on that, you know, it can turn out to work out for everybody. So
yeah, we got EBI too, so hopefully that'll
yeah, I mean, I'm planning on going to Europe. You know, I'm going to Hessisch and I'm going to EBI. And man, if I miss out on that, I'm gonna be super bummed. Like, you know, you were asking me earlier what my favorite car show is, and I don't want, you know, Freddie and Mike to get mad. I love EBI. Okay.
Full disclaimer, guys.
I love EBI. I mean, I put on the US Bug-In, so I love the European Bug-In, but I am a vintage guy at heart. I mean, that's how I was raised, vintage Volkswagens. I like stock cars, and there's no event like Hessisch, man. Like, I mean, I've been to Bad Comburg as well. Bad Comburg's a great event. Not to take anything away from Bad Comburg, but Hessisch is, oh man, that if you're save your money,
wait, man. I've
save
never
your
been,
money
so.
and go to Europe, go to Hessisch and take a week off and then go to EBI. You will not regret going to Europe for 2 weeks and hitting up both those shows. It's awesome.
I'm in. I already saw.
No, dude.
As long as I'm here and I got the opportunity to go, man, I'm in.
My buddy Casey and I went in 2017, and we rented a T6 camper van. And we basically got off the airport, went to the car rental place, got our van, and we lived in a van for 2 weeks. And we did Hessisch, and we got a spot in the swap meet, parked our van right in the swap meet, popped up the pop top. We were there for 3 or 4 days.
It's
living out of the van. Right, you'd wake up and walk through the middle of the show, go get your coffee in the morning, and you're there. You know. So Christian, who puts on Hessisch, is a good friend of mine, and he kind of hooked us up with a good spot. And yeah, I mean, and we had the van for a week. We just toured a bunch of places, went to some friends' houses, and then went to EBI the following weekend.
That's sick.
Excellent.
Stan Ford's chiming in and says, we will be there as well at EBI and at HO21.
Yeah,
so.
I hung out with Stan at the last event, and then we're getting his brother Steve to go this time. So we have a good group, and it's cool. You just kind of like, Christian organized a bunch of tours for all the Americans over there hanging out. So we got to tour the Wolfsburg factory.
That's so sick.
He got us into Autostad, which is awesome. It's like a college campground of all the different car manufacturers that Volkswagen owns, and there's a building there for each one. So there's like one for Porsche, one for Audi. So we got to walk around there. Yeah, it was pretty cool. We got to go to see the bus factory where they make all the T6s. Yeah, I mean, Europe, man.
I'm literally just gonna grab onto your pocket the whole trip,
dude. It's so much fun. If you just try to go every 4 years, so you can do Hessisch and EBI. I mean, it's worth it. It's so rad.
I'm already ready to go. I know it's weird too because it's gonna be on 4th of July for us here this year. So.
I think usually EBI is right around that first weekend in July. So
it's literally 2nd, 3rd, and 4th next year.
Yeah.
So. Michael Mann's like Chuck Walla Raceway just opened an 8th mile. Any chance of a winter event out there, guys? I want to stress that it's not the racetracks that's the issue. You know, same with Irwindale, and I know Greg Garza chimed in. So yeah, Irwindale's great. They're having test and tunes, and they're doing their deals, but there's no spectators.
Yeah,
and you can't cover your costs with just race entries. You need the spectators
for what it costs to rent that place for a day, and to rent the crew to run the track, to rent cleanup, to get permits, to pay for insurance, to pay for all your rentals. You need the spectators there to help cover your costs. And Chuck Walla, I've heard, is a great facility. The only problem is trying to get people to travel all the way out there. The racers will go. You have no problem getting racers to show up to an event. Racers will race anywhere. They're hardcore. Yeah. But even like Auto Club Speedway, you know, we get a good turnout of racers there for the Bug-In, but some people think even going to Auto Club's a little too far. They love Irwindale. All my swap meet guys and car show guys, Irwindale's centrally located. It's right in LA, easy to get to. Everyone likes it, but even Auto Club, that's only like another 30 minutes up the freeway. A lot of people just go, oh, it's too far. It's hot. It's windy. I'd run into that problem with Chuck Walla too. You know, if I try to do an event there, it's too far. It's windy. It's hot. There, you know, unfortunately, like I'm not just trying to get racers to the events. I'm trying to get everybody.
Yeah. So
I got to worry about the swappers, got to worry about the car show crowd and spectators. People are just going there to walk the swap meet. People are showing up to go check out the cars in the car show or watch racing. So you got to like look at all those different aspects when you're putting on an event. You can't just focus on one, you know. But yeah, I love Chuck Walla. I've gone there for road racing events, and it's a great facility. It's just pretty far out there for trying to get that Southern California, LA, Orange County crowd to go.
A lot of people just like to drive their cars out there, and very few are as crazy as the Fords are.
Oh yeah, the Fords go.
Ish,
Yeah,
driving his thing to Northern California.
The Fords go anywhere in their car. The Stan and Steve will drive their car to the moon if they could. They literally will go anywhere in their buses.
I know we were talking about the air conditioning units prior to the show.
Steve's got that nice AC in his bus now.
I'm thinking about that for the
it's
for
a
the
nice
bay window.
kit. It's a nice kit.
So you got to see the bay window. People are asking questions about
the double cab.
Yeah,
looking good. Yeah, I checked it out on my way in. It's pretty nice.
Cruising.
I'm a bay window guy, so you can't. I've got a couple bay windows. So
I got to get some bumper brackets from you.
I brought them with me in my car.
He's prepared, man. Yeah, he probably didn't. I know a lot of people are really shocked too, just to have him here on the show and to see him in front of a camera. He's got the guy off in a distance.
I'm not like
radio.
I'm not like I always say, like, when it comes to Periscope, like you have my dad, and I always say my dad's like the face of the company. Like everyone knows who Rich Kimball is, and then Ron is like, I don't know, the mouth of the company, or like the voice of the company. And me, I'm always kind of like, I just kind of like being in the background. I'm not, I don't really like putting a lot of attention on myself. So having those two guys, the older dudes up front,
I mean, how are you going to handle all the attention when you're racing Class 11 next year?
I don't know, man.
When you're standing there on the podium.
My wife's still on there?
Yeah, I'm hoping. If you're still on, let us know, because we're gonna put the screws to him, because he already put a deposit down on an 11 car, so I don't know.
Man,
that's how we were.
I guess Impy's buying my fastback now. I can afford to buy a Class 11 car.
But I mean, that's what it's about. It's just to have fun in here, guys, and shoot the breeze and keep those questions coming. I'm trying to filter through them as best I can and still shoot the shit with Andy here. But I know some people were asking, and we talked a little bit about it, but and one of the questions that was asked to me and was kind of interesting, and it's like that it kind of shows that not everybody really, even if you're in the hobby, they don't really know the history and lineage of bugging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, somebody asked, who owns the rights to bugging? I'm like, well, probably the guy coming on the show.
Technically, it's my father, but yeah, like we were talking earlier, like bugging, the first bugging was 1968, and the way my dad got involved was he was in a car club called NBVA, Newport Beach Volkswagen Association, and they heard there was this new show that this guy Vic Wilson was starting. So my dad, had a 67 Beetle. He bought brand new for Chick Iverson.
That's so cool.
Found out who Vic Wilson was, introduced himself, and Vic gave him basically a stack of flyers and said, "Why don't you drive around and put these in all the local shops?" And so that was like my dad's first job as event promoting. He was, I don't know, 17, 18 years old.
Oh.
So he drove around, put flyers in shops, and the day of the event, him and his club basically just parked cars in the car show. NBVA was there to help. I don't know if they judged or whatever, but like I was saying to you earlier, the bugging event actually started. Vic Wilson wasn't really a Volkswagen guy. He was an off-road guy. And if you know Vic Wilson, he won the first Baja 1000 in a Myers Manx in 1967. And it was called Mexican 1000 back then. It was put on by Nora, not Score. And after he did that, he wanted to have some sort of event, and it was going to be like a buggy event, because the fiberglass buggy craze of the 60s, everybody had a fiberglass kit. The Manx is by far probably the most popular, but there was a lot of companies out there making fiberglass kits. So the first bugging was going to be like a buggy event. And Vic put on this event, and my dad kind of just, became buddies with them. And the first event actually was contingency for the next Baja 1000. So off-roaders guys know contingency is where they do tech and everything. So the first bugging, they actually held contingency for the Baja 1000, the second one in 1968. So that's a little fact a lot of people didn't know about bugging. But bugging got so popular with the Beatles and with drag racing into the late 60s and early 70s, it kind of morphed into this huge drag racing event. Drag racing, they had slalom and everything, but drag racing by far was the most popular attraction. So my dad stayed on. Him and Vic became really good friends. Vic also owned a motorcycle park called Saddleback Park up by Irvine Lake in Orange County. And my dad went to work for him there, ended up becoming the manager of Saddleback Park, and still stayed on as Vic's partner, putting on the bugging until mid-late 70s. Vic retired. And then from then on out, my dad took over the bugging, and he ran it into the 80s until OCIR closed down in 83.
That's crazy, man.
That's a quick history of the bugging and how my dad got involved, and all the stuff that came.
What's fascinating to me, a lot of people kind of forget, is the overlap, right? We always talk about this little car that brings everybody together from around the globe. But what doesn't matter what style you're into. We talked about off-road racing. We've talked about drag racing side of stuff. But then you get into like Saddleback Park, which it's kind of like the mecca for motocross and dirt bike stuff in Southern California. Like that's the history of histories.
And they actually had these races called Baja Cross at Saddleback Park. And imagine Supercross in Baja Bugs. That's basically what Baja Cross was. And my dad put on a couple of those events at Saddleback Park as well. So Baja Cross was really popular. I think late 70s, early 80s.
That's so cool.
So
Nicole says we'll talk about it.
Open that up for discussion then later. Awesome.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Make sure your neck collar's up to date. We'll lend you everything you need. Lucas Hand said, I guess he knew. He says Vic Wilson was a racing fool, man. I guess he just loved it.
He was a big off-road guy. Yeah. And he's actually, he lives up in Reno area over there. And my dad goes and visits him every year. He's still around. They still go and talk about the good old days. I think we're going camping up in Bishop next weekend. And my mom and dad are going to continue on to Carson City. That's where he lives. So we're going to go visit Vic.
Yeah. Lucas is, second generation as well. So, and he's a pretty good wealth full of knowledge. And,
cool.
And so I'm enjoying some of that stuff. He goes, he's one of the best, was one of the best. He raced everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Vic was heavily into off-road racing. That was his thing.
This is another good one too. And I don't know if you saw the post. Jesse James is building the class 11.
I saw that.
So that is a real thing. That has been confirmed.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of just a little hoax kind of deal, but
that's cool. He's Volkswagen guy and he's off-road guy. So it just kind of goes hand in hand that he would build, and his car is probably going to be so legit too. I'm sure it's kind of like the best of everything.
Of course.
It's going to be so rad.
Unfair. But Jesse, I hope you get to see this. I would love to nerf your ass just one time. I know you get DQ for that shit, but there was one I had my eye on for this weekend too. I wanted to give him a little nudge, but I thought better against it. I said, what I get, because you're not supposed to nerf anybody while you're racing, right? But I said, what if we're in the staging line getting ready to start, and just give him a little bump.
Yeah,
just a little bump.
Rubbin's racing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So, except when the class, one guy's come up behind me. Please no rubbing.
Yeah. They tap you and you just start spinning.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. No, I'm already good at that. Thank you. The thing's still not quite right. I mean, it swells up. Look at that thing. Is
that from your crash?
Yeah, that's the remnants of what's left of the finger there. So. Kimball Rich just wanted to chime in and say hi. So
hi, Kimball. That's my second dad. He literally has the same name as my father backwards.
So great. I remember when Ron was talking about stuff like that, it's like not the Rich Kimball, but it's Kimball Rich.
Yeah.
And he's at giving the award ceremonies and stuff like that. So we talked about your favorite show. We talked what about an event that you've done or promoted? Was there, whether it was like, let's say you or even when your pops was doing stuff, but during the heyday, or what was one of your best shows or most memorable events you've ever done yourself?
For me personally, I mean, the best events that I've ever attended were probably the late 90s VW classics. Those, if you ever went to a VW classic, the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, those late 90s ones, right about the time Octo came about 98 and they started doing the full weekend with Octo on Saturday, Classic on Sunday. Those 98, 99, 2000 VW Classics were amazing. I mean, they were huge. I mean, the parking lot at the hotel was an event of its own. Having the bus show the day before, Stan and Steve, they had the Black Star camp out back then. Those were some of and I was just, I was a teenager there. So, it was right when I had my first car, and I had a 65 Squareback. That was my first car. And I remember driving it to those events for the first time and putting my Squareback in the car show. And that was like a highlight for me. Those were some of the best events. As far as events that I've done, the new event Silverado is by far my favorite. I'm a camper.
Yeah. Many people, I don't know if you know that, but
I'm a big I got a camping bus. I got a Toyota truck that I love to camp. That's if I'm not working or doing something, I want to, go somewhere on the weekend and go camping. So the Silverado show was like an idea that my dad and I kind of thought of. We wanted to do something, not like to a scale of a Black Star or like Buses by the Bridge, something a little more mellow in Orange County. Let people know that there is wilderness and cool places in Orange County you can camp. It's not just all asphalt and freeways. So I love the Silverado. It's my favorite show that I do. I really enjoy putting that one on. And, I like doing all of them. Drag Day Bugging, Treffin's another one that's really special. It's every 2 years, so it makes it a little nicer. Every 2 years, people kind of get built up for it. So, but Silverado by far is the one I enjoy more doing. Feels less like work,
Yeah. So is camping kind of just an escape, or is your wife kind of into it as well?
My wife is very into camping, which was a big plus. I think the first time she ever met my dad, I took her to a camp out. It was the Featherly camp out, and we kind of just showed up, and I'm like, "Hey Dad, this is Nicole," back when we were dating. And then I knew like she had so much fun at the camp out. She still loves going to that event to this day. So it's a family thing. My parents like it. My dad's got a camper bus. We both have bay window Westphalias. And it's just something that's a big part of us. Like I love to camp. I love to get in my bus, go camp on the beach. I drive it to Arizona every year for Buses by the Bridge. That's another awesome event that I try to never miss. But yeah, camping's a big part. I love to get out and camp.
Like to fish and do other stuff when you're out there?
I'm not a good fisherman. I try though, like this camping trip we have coming up, we're going up to Bishop, and I've been going there since I was a little kid. We go to the same campground every year, and I get my fishing pole and I make an attempt, and I'm not really good, but I mean, it's still fun and relaxing,
Yes.
Stream fishing or fishing on the lake. But yeah, I like to fish or make an attempt at it.
Oh, I got a comment coming through from Adrian. It looks like says, "Remember when Lauren Pearson knocked one of the TMI brothers on his rear mid-90s Vito Classic fun times?"
I don't remember that, but I mean, West Coast Metric was heavily involved in a lot of those early classics. They were the main sponsor for a long time. And Lauren used to actually have a huge party Friday night at West Coast Metric. So I don't know if it happened there or at the event, but he did one time where he bought a crane in, and they bought West Coast Metric window rubber, and they hooked it up to the roof of a bug and lifted a bug off the ground to show how strong their window rubber was.
That's cool.
So they did that at a classic. See, stuff like that, I don't think we'd ever get away with nowadays.
No.
There's so much.
I remember, obviously I was working a lot with Corey on the event for Vegas, and, trying to get like an engine blow. Oh God, dude.
Do you know how many people every year go, bring back the engine blow contest, bring back the engine pull?
Like impossible. We had better chance putting the engine pull on with rickety jack stands and no safety equipment than you did getting an engine blow contest.
It's so hard nowadays with, trying to get the legality of everything. Insurance won't cover you if you're trying to blow an engine on the stand. I mean, there's a lot of issues of trying to do that kind of stuff. And it's nice because I always tell people, you go to European bugging, it's like the Wild West, man. They got raves going on. They got parties. They got people in the mud crawling. I mean, all that stuff. Like I get people messaging me, "Hey, why don't you do this? The European bugging does this and this." I'm like, man, I wish I could get away with doing that stuff in California. Like there's no way.
It's a lifestyle event that a car show breaks out at. Oh, and they got some racing too. And
we'll throw some racing in there. And the racing there is like, these guys they basically just want to do big burnouts, and they have a timing. I went to the first European bugging, and I think they had a timing system there, but man, that event, there was a beer stand right on the starting line. And I remember walking up.
Dude. It's like,
and I remember walking up in there, and there's a cop, full uniform, gun, drinking a beer at the beer stube. And I'm just like, where am I right now?
That's so cool.
And there's none of them take money. Everything's off a little card.
Yeah.
So you have to reload your card.
All right.
See, when I went 3 years ago, I had tickets. Like the VIP guys, they'd give you like these little drink tickets or whatever, and you go and you give them so many tickets for a drink. And same with like if you want to get a hot dog, give them so many tickets for a bratwurst or whatever.
Yeah. It's nuts, man. But the event's so fun. Beer is a way of life.
Beer's water to them.
It's a rite of passage. Like, oh yeah, my 12-year-old's gonna have a chimay at the dinner table. But
those guys know how to party, man. I don't even stick around for the parties at night. I go back to my hotel.
I did last year.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow, you're a brave man.
I was an idiot. Oh, yeah. Some of you guys may have seen some of the live stream footage.
There's some rad videos out there.
Let's just say I ended up inside the DJ bus around 3 a.m.
I've seen videos of interesting dancers, and it goes off there at night at EBI.
It's a blast, man. The burnout box.
We need one of those DJ buses also.
Add that to the list of DJ bus.
Do you know anybody that can help us out with that?
I might know a guy.
So the plug for Eddie Express on Instagram. Give him a shout out. Yeah, so I mean, people are asking, all right, give you a little moment too. So Eddie Express pre-Impy days was a disc jockey. I'll call him a disc jockey, right? At K-Day and
right on. That's like my favorite station.
And Power, right?
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah,
so that's why we got a really awesome group we're building here for the marketing team, and even this guy over here, he's another DJ and house DJ for local watering hole down here, and he's got a pretty good spotty DJs in Las Vegas, but we kind of talk about that off air.
Okay.
But there's just so much, dude. Like, my brain is just racing right now because you got me thinking about West Coast Metric and thinking about, I don't want to say you're just like, the days of old and how awesome Nick's was, and kind of the what you're saying, like the pre-90s, right, is the whole kind of what really spawned into the whole VW week, right? And
like the VW week, because my dad started the Classic in 85. So the last bug-in was 83. And he was starting Bugs for You. He had a Volkswagen parts business.
We're going to get to that.
And he was started Bugs for You in the early 80s. And so he was focusing on that. And then 85, he wanted to put on a vintage show. So 85, he put on the first VW Classic. And I think the first one was on Father's Day. And it didn't really work out well. It was vintage cars only. And the next year, that's when he went to that second Sunday in June date. And it stuck on that date all the way up till, he sold the event, I think, in like 2001. But so in the late 80s, early 90s, the Cowlit cars, he started letting custom cars in. That's what the VW Classic was always famous for. Had that row up the middle and had Cowlit cars on the left going up the hill, vintage cars on the right. And that was on purpose, obviously. Just the layout looked awesome.
Yeah.
And we had an amazing crew of people. Like you said, volunteers make the event happen. We had this crew that probably 20 guys, and they are all volunteers. They literally worked for free lunch, a t-shirt, and a free entry into the event. And they would park all those cars by class in row, 58 to 64 Beetles parked together, 65 and 67 Beetles parked together, 57 and earlier Beetles parked together. And it made for a great layout. So the Classic, into the 90s and the late 90s, my dad ended up selling the event. A lot of people don't know this, but he got kind of sick at an event. The stress had really taken over. And then one of the last events, he didn't even show up. Me, my brother, my mom, my sister pretty much ran the event, and he was at home in bed. And so my mom kind of went to him and said, it's too much stress for you. It's too much for one person to take on. So he ended up selling the event to the whole family that puts on Bugorama. So they took over about 2001, and we stayed on and helped. We did like souvenirs, and we stayed on until about 2005. So, but the first 15 years or so of the Classic was all my dad. So
now were you just not ready to kind of take over the family business at the time? Or were you just really not sure?
I went through this like Honda phase. Like,
I know. RC cars.
RC cars. Remember I met you at the RC car track?
Yes. Like from being at the Classic and seeing it for so long, and then we end up bumping each other at the RC car track. And
so random.
And just,
I got
racing
in the early 2000s. I bought a 96 Honda Civic hatchback. I was really into the JDM thing, swap the motor. I had an Integra Type R. I had a bunch of Hondas, and I was burning. I did Volkswagens my entire life. Like, that's all I'd ever known.
I think you were just trying to rebel against it.
I don't know if it was a rebellion thing or just all my friends were into Hondas, and I kind of got into Hondas. There was about a 4 or 5 year period that I was really I was just done owning Volkswagens. I was done with them breaking down. I wanted a modern car. All I ever drove up to that point were air-cooled Volkswagens. So it was kind of nice. In the early 2000s, I was still helping my dad with the events. 2002, we brought the drag day back. So I was really helping him with that, but I wasn't ready to do it. And I still wanted to go to college, so a couple of years later, I went to college. I went to Cal State Long Beach, figured all that stuff out. And then when I graduated from college, I decided right around that time, like, maybe I want to, do events full time. My dad was kind of getting to the point where he was kind of getting done doing it and not really retire, but take a step back.
Yeah.
So I worked in special education for about 5 years. And then in 2015, I got married. I bought a house. I quit my job, and I took over my dad's business full time. So
is that all?
That's all, all in like a month in 2015. And so that's what I've been doing ever since, So,
I mean, looking back now, you're glad you made the transition.
Yeah. I'm glad I took the time to not just do it right away. And, I went out and did other things and got into off-road racing, like 2007 to for about 4 or 5 years. I was at the desert, 5 or 6 times a year at different off-road races. It's all I wanted to do. But then, finishing college and having a regular 9-to-5 job at the school and doing that, I realized, this is what I want to do. And my dad was kind of at the time where he wanted to step down, and just ended up working out. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about the classic of old. I mean, with all the cars getting parked and stuff like that. I mean, I remember like waiting in the line, dude, that just snaked around everywhere.
Backed up to the 405 freeway.
At dark 30, man. And then I just have some great memories. I mean, the thrash with my dad trying to finish his square back to be unveiled there. And when Bob unveiled his black square back at the same time.
That was a nice car. That car was so nice.
So that was, I remember that was the same exact year when they both unveiled the cars, and just, we didn't, like, team no sleep for like freaking 4 days straight to try to get that car done. But there's just so many great memories. And that's one of the things that we probably get asked the most is, bring the classic back. I'm like, well, we don't own it. We don't, you know what I mean? It's like, and it's like, that was tried to happen, right? And stuff like that. But
the last classic, though, I know the Holes, they ran into some issues with dates, and they tried to do the fairgrounds, and that fairgrounds place I know is very expensive, so it had to be very hard for them to try to keep an event there. But they did an event at Long Beach, and I thought it was a great event. The last classic they had was at Long Beach Vet Stadium, same place, Octo, and it was a great event. I went there, me, my dad, and my buddies all got swap spots and sold in the swap meet and walked around the car show. And I thought it was an awesome event, but I don't know if there was issues trying to get it for the next year. But I talked to Steve, and I don't think, classic is out. I think they still, probably want to try to make an effort to do it. I don't think it's like done yet, but it would be nice to bring the classic back. Prado is here as well, and there were issues with Prado and classic being on the same weekend, and there were politics with that, and
that's just par for the course, right?
Yeah, but
it can all work together.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it and still have two great events on two different weekends. The problem is it's really hard to pick dates. There's only there's 52 weekends in a year, but how many of those, if you take out holidays and winter, and there's really not a lot of weekends, especially Southern California, where there's something going on every weekend from March through June and July. Every weekend, it's either a holiday or a VW show. Like, there's something.
I got one. Do you ever look at the Farmer's Almanac and different things for rain dates when you're starting to select your dates and different stuff?
I just cross my fingers. I mean,
random.
Yeah, but you're talking about picking dates, right? It's like if you look at the dates of when it would rain on that particular, it just happens, especially like in early springtime. You want to look at that stuff.
We basically, when we pick a date, we try to keep that date every year. The classic was always the second Sunday in June, and that was just kind of second Sunday. Drag day is usually the second weekend in March or the last weekend in October, and try to keep it consistent like that, so people just always know. And my dad always did that with the classic, because people will just know when you're planning vacations. You're like, okay, I know the classic's going to be the second Sunday in June, so that's when we're going to plan our family vacation. That's when the kids are out of school, and my wife, I can get time off or whatever. As far as weather, we're pretty lucky in Southern California. I knock on wood, cross my fingers, and rain is the worst thing. I would never wish that upon anybody. We have had events. The first Silverado camp out, we had poured rain, but everybody who went had a great time.
Mudsliding,
and it was a mud bog. I mean, it was really bad, but you can't have drag races with rain, unfortunately. So that would put a damper on racing events. But yeah, you can't really. My dad always said, you can't control the weather. The weather's going to do what the weather's want. It'll pour rain in July, or it'll be sunny and hot in January. Like, you can't control what the weather's going to do. It's going to do what it wants to do. And you just take a chance and put on an event and hope for the best. So,
yeah, I guess it's interesting too. Like, regionally too, where you're at in the country, the weather's crazy through the Carolinas and stuff, and it's like rained in the morning and the night before, but cleared up enough to get fast times at Farmington off. So it's just one of those weird things. It took them 3 or 4 hours to get the track ready, but with their regulations, it helps.
I got a buddy on the East Coast, my friend Casey. He puts on the all air cooled gathering in New Jersey, and they only have a couple months out of the year where they could put on events. They're really limited on what they can do, and we're almost spoiled out here as far as. We have good weather. We don't put on events in July because it's too hot. But, that's
talk about extreme conditions back there, though. It's freezing cold 1 minute, and
I was just there a couple weeks ago. I drove my truck back there, and we were in New Jersey, and I had never experienced humidity before. And oh my god! Like, I was just we were moving a camper from one truck to another, and I'm just like dripping. I'm like, what is wrong? It's not even that hot. Like, I don't understand what's
wrong with me.
Why is my shirt all wet? What is this? what do you call this?
Yeah, Adrian brought up another good one. He goes, when Jerry Seinfeld was walking around the classic and stuff. And
yeah, he used to come to the event, and as a kid, I walked right by him one time, and I was walking out to the parking lot, and he was walking in. He was like in an Adidas jumpsuit or something, and I see him out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, was that Jerry Seinfeld? And I forget who I was with. Like, yeah, that's Jerry Seinfeld. I'm like, what is he doing here? And then I found out he was a big Volkswagen guy.
Yeah.
Porsche guy, but Volkswagen
Porsche,
as well.
Yeah, I remember really just staring at those 356s I got in the very front row, and everybody's starting to huddle around him. The poor guy can get a break.
Yeah.
This one guy said, giant calendar with a handful of darts and hope for the best, basically. Oh man. And then Doug Gibson said Silverado was a blast.
Yeah, Silverado. I mean, the second one we had in 2019 was perfect. The weather was perfect. It was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. Camping all 3 days, and we have a chili cook-off and a raffle, and then Sunday we have a big car show, and that event was perfect. It went off without a hitch.
Somebody was asking me too on DMs here, what about other events? Like, you've got like the drag racing aspect of it. What about like somehow they do it in other parts of the country, like a slalom or a bug push again, or other different things to kind of.
I've thought about, especially with Auto Club, they actually have an autocross track there. And I thought maybe expanding Bug-In, it would be really nice to have Bug-In be a multi-day event. And right now we let people in on Saturday, we have camping, and the event's actually on Sunday. I would love to have a Saturday, Sunday event, but it all comes back to rent. Renting that place is not cheap. Paying, getting overnight security and extra insurance and all that stuff, it all adds up. And if I get a second day, would I have an event that's twice as big to cover that? And I don't think I would. Yeah. And yeah, there's a handful of guys that if you did a slalom, you get a handful of guys that are hardcore and want to race slalom, but you only get a handful of guys. Like, at our the drag racers, if we get 80 racers, we're very happy. We're stoked to get that many. I don't think I'd get 80 guys racing the slalom in air-cooled VWs. I don't know if it would be enough to pay to rent that parking lot and to pay for an ambulance to be there all day and to pay for all the crew to be there all day. So I got to look at it at a financial standpoint and see what we can afford to do, and if it's going to be profitable, or if it's cool enough, if we could still even just break even, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it. But still, it's pretty pricey to rent all that stuff. And
I think a lot of people forget that. I mean, the requirements that you've got to have the ambulance on site. I mean, if something, God forbid, happens, you can't start the event back up if it's not there. I mean, there's a lot of extra.
There's a lot of even drag racing. The second one car goes down the drag strip, you're obligated to pay for the drag strip. Yep. And if a car goes down and the next car goes down in totals and the track shut down for 2 or 3 hours for ambulances or whatever, you're still paying the rental for that track for the whole day. So there's a lot of stuff to take into consideration. And a lot of people don't think about all the aspects of putting on an event.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
We looked at it. I mean, I know what we're into it. It looks like, I'm assuming this is Shen from Hot VWs chiming in saying slalom with a big explanation points and Formula V. It's like, those are the stuff that we'd love to see. I think we'd love to see more of that, or at least the thing is, it's there, right? It's just about bringing it to the forefront, and kind of like what we're doing with the Class 11 stuff is, pushing it. But there's guys that have been doing this stuff for, long before I was even thought of, and other things that they're doing within racing or VW powered racing or whatever. We'd love to get other stuff out there. So, you look at like Mid-America's show that they do. I mean, there's pretty well versed, whether it's a little zip around to different courses, different timing, but just giving somebody, hey, it's $20 to go run this course all day long in your bus or in your bug, or build it up to a little grudge race or something, just have some fun, just offering, again, a lifestyle thing and just some more opportunities for people. Cause one guy's like, oh, the engine pool contest was the best. But, like, engine pool contests were awesome to watch. Somebody just shared on Facebook where they're running up and throwing the jack stands, one on each side, and going to town. But it's like, it's just insurance, especially in California, you're not going to get approval for it.
Yeah. There's an event at the racetrack, Belgium, Spa, wherever the Spa racetrack is.
Spa-Francorchamps, right?
Yeah, they do a Volkswagen show there, and they actually get on the track. And I think you can't go more than like 10 or 15 miles an hour, but they get a train of all the Volkswagens.
Yeah.
And it's really cool, but it's like at the same time, people are on the roofs hanging off the edge. And I'm like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do something like that here. You know, I'd be worried about liability the whole time.
Yeah. Can you imagine touring Fontana Motor Speedway, like even the infield course?
Yeah.
And that's on a Formula One track. Like that's sick.
It's cool and it looks awesome. And I'd love to go check it out.
I think they spring it to like a spring where it kind of pulls apart. Then everybody races up real quick. Yeah. You know, I mean, I know I would try to do a burnout.
Absolutely.
Stupid. But I mean, I would love just to see that. And like, but see, that's where I think if we got like certain tracks, you know, like a Chuckwalla or an event like in Pahrump, you know what I mean, where you can get away with it, but you got to have people to commit to go, and that's the biggest problem. So it's like, this is a great way for us to kind of share, like, hey guys, we're willing to do it, but you got to be willing to step up. You
got to be willing to get the, you know. I always say, like I said, we're spoiled. We live in Southern California. This is the mecca of air-cooled Volkswagens. But it doesn't mean that there isn't an awesome air-cooled VW scene in Vegas. There isn't an awesome Arizona scene, a Pacific Northwest scene. There's VW scenes everywhere. But for me, like I'm based out of Southern California. So I've often thought about doing an event in Vegas, but just because Vegas needs an event.
They do.
And so it was cool to see that the Corey Mac, they were going to do an event out there and get the Vegas crowd. You know, the Vegas club was all pumped up to do something like the day before. And it would be awesome to see that, but you know, trying to get like the crowd from Southern California to travel to Vegas, you know, I always said like, no one needs a reason to go to Vegas. They just want to go to Vegas. And the fact there's a Volkswagen show there, that's just icing on the cake to go to Vegas for a weekend. But yeah, like to go to Chuckwalla and get that LA Orange County crowd to go to Chuckwalla for, you know, drive out there in the morning, do an event and come back. It's kind of hard to get them to go. It's kind of hard to get the crowd there.
Yeah. So. I mean, look at what LACR was, about the same drive from us here to go to, you know, LACR for a drag race event, and you'd struggle to get cars there in the heyday.
Was that Palmdale?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you got about the same distance to go from here to Chuckwalla.
Yeah.
It's difficult. So y'all can come up with something, I think. So Catherine Beavis.
Catherine.
She said, I think you all people come up with some creative stuff out there, and you come up with something great. And I know we can. I mean, I think I really feel that the Vegas deal is going to be a huge success. I think that they've been kind of, I don't want to say forgotten. I think a lot of it was just kind of
I went to those Bugaramas in Vegas.
Fremont Street.
God, that event on Fremont Street was awesome. The Vegas shows, I went there. My dad and I used to do this racing class called Duran Kafer Cup, and we used to put it on at the Bugaramas and at Vegas. And so we'd travel to all the events and we'd run the class, and it was a show and go class. And I love going to Vegas. The Vegas racing facility is one of the nicest facilities. Their tower is like luxury. Their grandstands is luxury. I mean, it's a nice facility.
Yeah.
So when they stopped doing the Vegas event, I was a little bummed because I enjoyed going out there. I was just 21, I think, and I'd leave my dad in the hotel room. I'd go gamble for a little bit. I was all excited to be in Vegas and be 21. But I really liked that event. So going back to like picking dates, when Corey Mack announced his date, it was the week before our drag day event. So that was one thing that kind of bummed me out, only in the fact that drag racers don't like racing back-to-back weekends. Just like you, off-road racing. How hard was it to go back-to-back racing off-road weekends? You know, drag racers are the same way. So when there's this big event planned in Vegas the weekend before my drag racing event in LA, it was kind of a bummer, but it's really hard to pick dates, you know? And now I know that was the only date Vegas offered them. So that's all they had to choose from. But picking dates, there's a lot of things to take in consideration. You don't want to be the same date as somebody. And then when it comes to racing, you don't want to be the week before. You don't want to be the week after.
Yeah. It's just too much. Cause you know, especially in these cars with the trannies and everything else going down.
Yeah.
But I know that with, you know, talking to Corey as often as I do, I mean, damn near daily, and talking about planning for next year, that working in, you know, consideration with you guys around the dates and trying to make it, we'd love to make it a pit stop, you know, these another series. So, you know, but again, you get it. I mean, you get it. You may not like it, but you get it. It's the same thing. Like the Corey Max deal fell the same day as what Farmington's going to be. So it's just, but it you don't have to worry about that now. But her date's still going on. But it's just stuff like that, man. So even Shin's chiming in. Yes, engine pool contest. Shin, sign the insurance, dude. I'm sure he'll do it. Get it happen.
Engine pull by far is the greatest demand at our events. Everybody wants to see an engine pull contest. I mean, that's like everybody. I get messages about that all the time.
I got one for you.
What?
I know, and I know you hear it a bunch. But the bikini contest
No,
stuff.
never happened.
There you go. People ask about that. I mean, that was timeless. But
the reason it doesn't happen is because I also want your wife and kids to come to my event. That's why it doesn't happen.
That's what we tried to explain and try to make it more of a family
event. Know, it's my events are family events, and they're a family event before anything else. I love the bikini contest at the Classic.
Your wife's still online.
I know, but like the 13 or 14-year-old me was sitting right front
small
row
car specialties, just like on the railing.
It was nice. Your dad,
dude, I'm telling you, I'm reliving my childhood right now.
Having your dad put on the event, you got to be on the other side of the fence and and it was cool. But my mom, I think, was actually the one who put an end to the bikini contest.
There you have it,
just
guys.
Like the thing about the bikini contest is when the bikini contest started out, it was basically go out in the crowd, see if a guy's girlfriend wanted to go on stage or whatever. And for one thing, you can't do that nowadays. And for the second, the bikini contest turned from just something innocent to women who had regular jobs during the week, and they would come here and perform on stage. We had a lady who she would come here and she'd come with her husband.
Typed in Shannon Ray.
I don't know the girl who won like every year, but she would bring her husband and son, and she'd send them to Wild Rivers while she went and performed. And she'd win, and like the purse was like $1,000. I mean, these girls aren't dumb; they're earning good money. But and it just it's just not what the events are about these days. If you want to see that, there are other avenues you can do to go see that. But that's not what my events are about. I like families. I like seeing the mom and dad holding their little 5-year-old walking through the car show, and to see that kid turn around and see a half naked woman on stage. Like I don't want that. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you guys can stop asking for that, because as long as I'm in charge, it's never going to happen.
I mean, I'm just the messenger. Inquiring minds want to know, so we're passing it along. But
like I said, there's other ways you can fulfill that. But not at my show.
Yeah. But man, fun fact, and I'm sure I'm going to get some shit for this one. So small car specialties. I was a young lad and noticed there happened to be a contest on stage, and I was there, and then my mom was there and my dad was there, 2 separate cars. Well, one thought they had me and the other one thought they had me.
They left you?
They left me. So, I mean, how cool was I that I was like, yeah, check out these girls, I'm young. I'm probably 10 or years old, and I'm trying to be a cool dude in the front. Next time I'm crying like a bitch back in the back.
You got no way to get home.
And dad are gone, and
we just both get home and go, you don't have them? Wait, you don't have them?
Basically.
That's awesome.
So that's a fun fact of the day. Look at it. Everybody's throwing out the old names, and Eric's chiming in. Good times from the small car specialty show, days, and we got Heather Kennedy and Shannon Ray and Tina New, and we should pour a little out for the homies. Just but no, it's understandable, man. And that's the stuff that's totally different.
Mm-hmm. It's a different world
at EBI, right? Because you got them rolling down, sitting on the roof of the bus, just
EBI is like I said, EBI is the wild, wild west. Like that's
probably the best analogy.
It's awesome. It's fun. It's fun to go and be a spectator. And that's the kind of event I walk around. When I walk around an event, like I can't help it. Like in my head, I'm just like analyzing events, going, okay, like from a promoter's point of view, like how do they do this, and how do they get the organization for that, and how they do that. So I'm always walking around an event thinking like how event could be better and how I would do it differently. And EBI is one of those events where I'm like, how do they do this? Like basically it's just Mike and Freddie and Kobus, we used to be involved as well. The 3 of them kind of started the event, and it's really impressive to see what they do on it's just 2 guys, and they put that whole event on, and they have a lot of help, but it's a very, very big event over a lot of square footage and
for a lot of days.
Yeah.
And there's something going on. And I'll tell you right now, the hospitality that they show.
They treat out of towners like royalty. When I go there, like I feel like a celebrity, and I'm just like, I don't think too highly of myself, and I'm just like, I'm nobody. But then like walking around, and there's like a flag with my name on. It says, "Oh, welcome our special guest, Andy Kimball," and I'm like, what? And then I get like VIP badges, and you get to go in all the stuff. I mean, they take care of the people that come to visit. It's pretty cool.
You know what? I'm one of the things I'm super impressed with over there is just the private personal collections of things that are just amazing, that no photos are allowed.
Mm-hmm. They have the museum. I think when I went, it was Bug in History or something. I sent a lot of photos of a lot of the stuff we had over to Mike, and they blew it up on these huge pictures, like padded nice pictures, and they were hung everywhere in the museum.
That's so cool.
And they always showcase something different every year, so that's really nice.
I'm even talking about the days leading up to the show, when you go to like
you go to like BBT, or you do all the cool stuff,
or like nostalgia cars, or some of the
everybody's got an open house, everybody's got a cruise, I was trying to get at. Everybody's got
the open houses, man. The open houses, Eddie, are insane. Like
Bob's open house at BBT, and I believe he does one before Heshish, and then he does a cruise to Heshish, and then he does one before EBI and does a cruise to EBI. I did the EBI one in 2007, but his open houses, Bob really opens the doors. His collection is amazing. It's amazing.
I've been fortunate enough for Bob to come over here, and I've been to Bob's house and be able to meet with him. And it's amazing family.
Did you go to his farm?
Yeah,
with the Porsche tractor in the backyard.
The Porsche tractor and the lawnmower that cuts his own grass for him. And stuff like that.
When I went there, he had a Porsche Carrera motor in his living room.
There. I was just going to say the same thing. I'm like, this beautiful twin cam NOS
just Carrera sitting motor in his family room
by the TV. It's like a bookend, but it's just like this 6-figure motor that's just sitting there. But no, Bob's a really neat dude, and he offered me to, if I come this year, that I can pick one of the cars from this collection and drive.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did that too. The year we went, I think my dad drove a bus, and Ron was with us, and Ron drove one of his Beetles, and my friend Norm drove a car, and I followed him we had like a Tiguan or something. I remember following him to EBI.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I literally can't wait. So stay tuned for pictures on that stuff.
It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be a blast.
I'm looking forward to it.
So, man, I don't even know where to go. There's so much we've already blown past the hour.
Oh, have it really?
Yeah, man. I told you.
Like it.
Jack tried to tell you, but
it went by fast.
It's just because that's what it's about. It's just about hanging out and talking, and guys, we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. So if you have some final questions and things you want to know or ask Andy or myself, please feel free to send those over in DMs. And while we're kind of wrapping things up here and going into 2021, and kind of just big X this year, and you basically want to distance yourself as far as you can from this whole crap. Mm-hmm. What are you really looking to do maybe different in 2021, whether it's kind of a different vibe on the show, some kind of new things
it'll just be interesting to see what kind of, if any, restrictions we have as far as putting on large events. I mean,
that's great.
Are we still going to be wearing masks in 2021? Are we still going to be social distancing? Am I going to be limited to how many people I can have an event? That's what kind of has me concerned for 2021. I'm hoping we're at a place where we can just go back to normal.
Yeah.
I was pretty
the new norm. It's like, what is it exactly?
I was pretty optimistic about that a few months ago. So it'll just be interesting to see. I mean, I definitely want to go back to having our 3 races, 2 drag days and a bug-in, and go back to our Triple Crown series, get back to, I got a lot of sponsors that I owe big for 2021. I got a lot of sponsors who were very cool and, paid to be sponsors for 2020 before this all fell apart. And, so I have a lot of obligations for 2021 to give back to them and make sure that, we still have events and I still fulfill the obligations to them and make sure that we still have the purse money for all the races and still have, do everything that I need to do to make the events happen, and then right now I don't want to not have a 2021. We need to get this thing figured out so we can get back to racing and get back to having car shows. And that's what's important to me. I don't see big changes. I still want to do everything the same way we've been doing it. I still want to have a Silverado camp out. I want to have a 3-race series. I want to have the vintage Treffen event in September. I want to go to Europe. And, that's my plan right now for 2021.
Dude, I don't envy your position. Some of the shit you're gonna have to weather and the cost.
It's gonna be hard. I mean,
because when obviously we wrote you a check.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen for next year.
And it's like
difficult.
And I've been trying to keep an open communication with all my sponsors and let them know, like, hey, we're not going anywhere. Like, I still have every intention of putting events on in 2021. But it's going to be hard. Like, these events don't happen without sponsors. Sponsors are a big part of, getting these events off the ground and getting them going. So it'll be difficult, but it still has to happen. And I'm not going to change anything or do anything differently. Like, I want to have a drag day in March, and I want to kick it off just like that, and start off the series and get back to racing and get back to having these events. So that's my goal right now.
Yeah, it's excellent. Michael Frank asked, what's in your VW stable right now, Andy?
He knows. What's he asking that for?
Maybe he's trying to get you to help sell that fastback soon.
I have a 66 fastback for sale. Anybody want to buy it? It's on the Samba. Check it out. I got a
price reduction coming soon, so we can get his class 11.
Shoot me an offer. I need to buy a race car. No, I got a 69 camper bus Westfalia. I got a 65 right-hand drive panel squareback that I just recently purchased before all this COVID stuff. I got that from Shin Mukai out of Japan, which is my new baby.
I think it's pretty cool if you guys haven't seen it.
It's very cool. A panel squareback was my dream since I was a teenager. I'm like, one day I'm going to have a panel squareback, and Shin knew that. And I told him, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And he comes up to me and says, Andy, I have a 65 Australian panel squareback for sale. Do you want it? And I'm like, yeah. Okay. And this was back in September. And so he's like, okay, let me figure everything out. And basically it took about, 4 or 5 months, and I got it on Valentine's Day in February. Best Valentine's Day gift ever.
I remember you had just picked it up, I think, and you had it at the Octo meter.
Yeah, it got shipped to my buddy's shop, and I put it on a trailer, and literally Octo was like the next day, and I still had it on the trailer, and so I just drove it to Octo on the trailer, but now it's running and driving, registered plates, and it's a running driving car.
That thing's a trip to look at. I mean,
it's awesome. Driving right-hand drive's weird. It takes a while to get used to it, but it's pretty rad.
I've only had one right-hand drive car, but it's definitely weird.
Yeah, you get used to it. You get used to it fairly easy, but it just takes a while. But
Kathy Jacobs chimed in. So hope you guys can get back to it soon. Hoping for the best when Farmington comes back on in October 18th, North Carolina. We want to come out west for some shows. Yeah,
I've heard Farmington's a great event. I've never been, but I've seen coverage on it, and it looks like a really good show.
I went last year.
Yeah,
to both of them, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, different location. And I'm sorry, I went to the second one. Just a cool spot. The vibe in through the Carolinas is just different in general, man. I went to Drag Night in South Carolina. I went to Farmington in North Carolina. I went to Les Strager's event, Bug Out. I mean, it's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. And, there's things just different. Like, why aren't we warming the cars up? Oh, wait, it's a Sunday. You can't start the cars till X because of church and different things.
Oh, interesting.
It's just a lot of but the hospitality, just that Southern vibe is just cool, man. And it made a lot of fun, and it made just a nice, different perspective, the driving just miles through this cornfield and country road. And all of a sudden, boom, there's a racetrack. And the dude's house is like on the back side of it, which is a trip, but it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. I just drove cross country a couple weeks ago. I drove to New Jersey and back, and I've never been cross country, never been, east of Utah, so it was cool to drive through all those states, see the cornfields, and, I went out to 70 and came back to 40. So it was really cool.
40 is gorgeous. So it's better than 10. Let's put it that way. Because that's just boring and flat. But yeah, that's when we drove to South Carolina last year for Scott Sain's event, and towed a car out there to go race, and we took the 40 out, and it was
awesome. 40 is beautiful through Tennessee and all that.
Oh,
it's so nice.
How about the potholes though?
There were a few potholes. Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody, until you get out there, people don't really realize how brutal it really is, and it's nasty. Oh man. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff. What's one VW you wish you still had?
One VW I wish I still had.
Good question.
Everyone always wishes they had their first car. I think I had a 65 Baltic Blue squareback. I was 16 and I had no money. And my dad's good friend, Norm Batchelder, he owns Mesa West and Costa Mesa. He came in, and I was a big dude. I've always been pretty tall. Norm's like, you know what? You need a Type 3. You're not going to fit in a Bug. You're not going to like a Bug. He's all, I have this squareback at my shop. and it's a 65 square back, and it was kind of a basket case, had like 4 lug on it, had high back seats, but had Impy Sprint Stars on it. Original Impy Sprint Stars. And I'm like, okay. And he's, I'll tell you what, come to my shop after work 2-3 days a week. I'll pay you $9 an hour, which back then, like minimum wage is $5.25. So I'm all $9 an hour. Oh, hell yeah. So 3 days a week, I'd drive my sister's 66 Bug that I was borrowing because my dad wouldn't let her drive it to Long Beach State. So that was kind of like my car to drive. I would drive to Norm's shop and I'd sweep floors. I'd go in the car and they'd lift it up, and I'd push the brakes while they bled the brakes. And I was just pretty much just, shop rat. I just did, whatever they told me to, clean here, grab that. And I did that for a couple months. I remember one time Norm had a tire machine. He's like, I want you to go out back in every single wheel and tire. I want you to bring it in, dismount it, stack the wheels over there and stack the tires over there. And I'll never forget the smell of old rubber when you break the bead on an old, oh God, that smell will like stick with me forever. And I did that for like a week straight every day. All I did was dismount wheels and tires. And then one day I earned enough money. I think the car was like $2,000 or something. And I made enough money, and he's like, here you go. He tuned it up and showed me how to tune it up. And in one day we stayed after hours and waxed the whole car and everything. And that was my first car. And I had that for about a year, drove it everywhere. And then I don't know. I think I bought my brother's 64 Ford Galaxy from him. I think I sold that square back to buy that off my brother.
Which you could buy another one for $2,000, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a cool car. If I can get that one, I ended up selling it to Lenny, West Coast Classics, and Lenny ended up going to Japan. It was a pretty decent car.
Wow.
So,
of course, my pops chimes in on this one. He said, in my defense, Corey, you were separated from us from the Classic for about 20 minutes. We figured it out when we were leaving the parking lot. Not a proud parental moment, but we sure enjoyed the first few minutes of the bikini contest. See,
for you, it felt like forever.
Oh, dude, I was crying like a little kid. I mean, what I was supposed to do? They left me there while we did. But I did get comforted by some bikini girls. So
there you go. So it was all worth it.
And then your boy Michael, man, squarebacks are the best.
Squarebacks are the best. They're the best car.
I had a blast. So I got a loaner swareback.
Yeah, Jack's right?
fuel injected.
The orange pumpkin.
Orange pumpkin, and we did the Wolfsburg West rally deal.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. If you could meet anyone in the VW world, who would it be? I think she's like, oh wait, I think pretty much everybody in the VW world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate to, my father is who he is, and a lot of people in this hobby.
I mean, you've been
had a chance to meet, forever. But yeah, so I've gotten to meet a lot of the higher ups in the community, so that's pretty cool.
All right, and this is a question, so you can omit it if you want. Impy Adrian, a disclosure, says a selfish question. He's like, but I'd like to know what Andy thinks about the new Impy and kind of the changes that you're seeing.
And I get to be brutally honest.
I mean, we do write your checks. No, I mean, of course, you just, don't MF me too bad. I
mean, Impy, there's no denying that Impy had kind of a not so nice past. And, there was a lot of quality issues that I think didn't directly affect me. I've never, I don't own a parts shop. I don't build engines. I don't restore cars. So I never directly worked with Impy parts like a lot of people that haven't been happy with Impy over the years. From my standpoint, I could definitely see there is a lot of effort going in to change that. And, you can only get better, and it's not going to be perfect. You're still going to have people complain. You're still going to have parts fail. Like you can have the best stuff out there. Stuff's going to fail. People are going to get mad. With the internet nowadays, you can't hide from it, and I go through that with my events. After an event, I just kind of don't go on Facebook or Instagram because people are always going to hate and have negative things to say. But, as long as you can, and I was talking to you earlier about this, as long as you can accept that, there's stuff that we got to make better. And there is a past here that a lot of people weren't happy with. And I think you're doing a pretty good job of trying to prove that to people like, hey, there were issues and we're working on that. We're trying to make our image a little better, but time will tell. It's all on you. I mean, you are the marketing guy. So it's in your lap to kind of show that to people.
No pressure
at all, man.
I mean, in our defense, again, sins of the past, the regime has changed.
Yeah.
And, you know, the new guy at the helm, man, is really,
he seems pretty cool, and he seems to be the type of guy that just, you know, he seems to be the type of guy that has no problem going, you know, you take care of this, you take care of this. You know, he doesn't want to step on anyone's toes, and that's kind of what you need right here. You got a company full of people that have been doing this for a long time and know the industry and know the parts and know the car.
Yeah.
So him coming in as a CEO, he may not be a Volkswagen guy, but he knows how to run a company, obviously, and he's going to let you guys do your job, which is what Impy needs right now. He just let you guys do your job and, you know, work on the image and work on making stuff better. Like, even if every product, as good as you think it is, it can always get better.
Oh yeah. It just, and that's the thing, that the happy medium that people got to understand. I mean, it's, you know, just the size and the magnitude. A lot of people don't even really grasp. And it's interesting too, when we go to the shows, especially back East, and we go, yeah, we're like, you know, 300,000 square feet and 125 employees. And, you know, it's a big monster, you know, and the sheer volume, a lot of stuff that we have, we've got to, you know, we've scrapped tons of stuff just because we're just not comfortable with it, but we've made substantial investments with engineering and R&D and developing, and then again, to have a CEO that may not be a Volkswagen guy, but is truly a car guy and loves cars, but he can recognize talent in certain areas and lets those guys lead, and then gives the parameters and kind of guides through the navigates with little restrictions and just demands results. Yeah. And it's really cool. And Johnny Salazar, thank you for chiming in, man. He says the quality has changed for the better, and it's just going to get better. You know, you gotta get through the things, and I'm not sticking my head in the sand. Trust me. I see the Facebook messages. I see the groups. I see and
you're never going to make everybody happy. Like, that's one thing. You'll never make everybody happy. There will always be people that are unhappy. There'll be that one guy that had that part that failed. And from there on out, he just has a stigma in his head about Impy. He'll never, and that's the same, like even putting on events. I'm never going to make everyone happy. Like, I just do my best to make as many of them happy as I can. A lot of people complain about different aspects, but you know, you just got to do what you got to do and recognize where there are problems and just try to fix it from there.
Yep. I mean, we really do, you know, we really try for that. And that's all you can do. Right. And I think the biggest thing for us, and kind of my philosophy, is peel back the iron curtain, if you will. And like we did that last year, you know, when I kind of started here, and when I put together the open house, to kind of peel back and say, look, here's our home. Here's what we do. On top of it, let me bring you in, so to give you a concept of reality of really what it looks like here and what we're trying to do and make it better. You know, and we're going to continue to do that as long as I'm here. You know, if I'm going to be out in front of this thing, and that's even how the Impy Insider show even was kind of the thought was, you know, when Jack's transition, the acquisition from Jack, our acquisition of Jack and JC, there was a lot of animosity and hate and
I remember the announcement, because they announced it at EBI at the dinner, at the Calic dinner.
Yeah. And I mean, to be able to put that together and then to create an avenue for him to explain his side.
Yeah. Well,
public forum, you know?
And Jack's, you got to realize, guys like Jack, they got to do what's good for them. Jack's got a family he has to take care of. And that was the move that he needed to do for his well-being and for his family and financially and everything. Then who is anyone to talk about that? Like, that's Jack's decision. That's what Jack wanted to do. And for you to have something negative to say about that, it's none of your business, you know? And, you know, I think Jack's handled it pretty well. And anyone who's ever met Jack just know how he's such a mellow, laid back guy, you know, and if you really knew Jack, and I didn't know Jack that well actually till SEMA, like, you know, JC was always a sponsor of our event, but Ron always dealt with Jack. And then at SEMA, we all hung out, and I'm just like, wow, Jack's just like really like low key and just mellow and laid back, super nice guy. And, you know, for people to get upset because he made a move to sell out or whatever, like, it's none of your business. Like, that's Jack's decision. That's what he wanted to do. And I think too many people nowadays with the internet, and they get their keyboard courage, and it's just rough, you know, and you just gotta kind of go with it. And, you know, like I said, you're never going to make everyone happy.
Nope. And it's you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of people just like to run their mouth, and those that were there, that were truly his friends, support him and still stand by him because they've seen the good times, the bleak times, good and bad, and he's in a great spot now, and it's why we're really happy.
Yeah,
fortunate to have him too, just like all the other team that we just continue to add on. So we're gonna finish up here right up. But Michael, man, MP open house in the future. Yes, absolutely. I will put another one on. We just want to get through this stuff. I think to kind of open it up a little bit, and we actually just talked about it this morning, is I want to do you saw the new dyno room, and I want to do like a dyno day here, and maybe do one better as maybe do a dyno day, and Volks David Reeves kind of chimed in, but maybe do a dyno day that lets like a builder build off and give some parameters. Cool. I wanted to give like basic parameters. Here's the size of the motor, bore and stroke, or just the size in general. These are the parameters to it. We'll invite, let's say, 5 guys or 8 guys to build their motor and come in, and we're going to have a builder build off.
That'd be cool.
And see what kind of power. And I want to do something like that.
Yeah, dyno room's really nice too. Like that.
Thanks.
It's pretty nice.
And you got the sneak peek at the MP garage kind of coming. What do you think?
It's going to be pretty rad.
Yeah. It's fun.
There's a lot of nice construction going on in the MP warehouse right now, and they're building some really cool stuff. So maybe one day everybody will get to see it. It's pretty rad.
Yep. Oh, I just saw Michael Mann's comment, MP open house with the engine builder contest. Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've talked about kind of loosely here, and I've mentioned before on the show, but it's definitely something we'd love to do, so we can have some fun and just invite people in, and even if we did a nice little afternoon taco day and some music, just a cool little vibe, and those that are local want to come in and check it out. That's what I'm really kind of hoping for, so we can get past once. I mean, I'm hoping we can do this sometime this year, just to give a little something going in next year. But anyhow, guys, as always, first, thank you so much for coming in. I mean, an hour and a half went by pretty quick, dude.
Yeah.
I'm welcome to the Class 11 team, by the way, so I appreciate it. This is going to be one of my new pit bosses here, and we're going to get him out more than a couple times a year, at least locally. And it's been great to really, spend more time with you, get to know you better, dude. I mean, honestly, on a multi-level deal, not just as a business knowledge, but getting to know you on a personal level, man, has been really awesome. You got a great heart, and we shared a lot of things about the personal life, which we separate that completely from here. But kudos to you, dude, and everything you do, not just for you at the hobby, but for you as a person, man. I got a lot of respect for you, and SEMA was a great time, not just for getting to know Jack, but to getting to know each other more and more. So there you guys have it, man. The guy that never comes out from behind the shadows and who lurks deep in the shadows and works his ass off to put those shows on that you guys all love so much, and travel around the country and the world to come here during VW week and during so many other things. It's been awesome to have him on here for an hour and a half and shoot the breeze and talk shop and history and lessons and everything else. It's been really cool. So again, big shout out to Andy Kimball and the Kimball family for what they've done and kind of continued the passion for all these years. And guys, thanks for letting me ramble on and share my stories about racing and the cars and everything else what's going on. In the coming weeks, we're going to be doing some major service on the MP the MP off-road car, the Class 11 car, which I'm still waiting for some more names to come through, guys. So if you guys want to help name the MP Class 11 car and win yourself a pretty good swag box of goodies and giveaways, keep those submissions coming in. We'll probably read some of those off next week's show. We're going to be doing some major prep for that, but while we're doing that major prep, we're going to bring in a lot of those pieces that are right off my car, like the tie rods, the CV joints. So we're going to show you guys kind of the wear and tear and what we're up against and what we've been working towards to improve these products. Great new cylinder head stuff coming out as well, so stay tuned for some of that. We're going to bring the cylinder heads out and show some of that. And don't forget the die-cast cars and toy collection, which I've seen 2 posts now on social media. These have yet to hit the stores, but these are the 3. This is a 3-car set that'll be kind of hitting all M2 dealers. I'm Walmart as well. Really cool to get these while you can because they're limited production. Other than that, guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in every single week. I've loved watching this thing grow, and just by the feedback as well, it's been awesome. So we'll catch you next week. MP Insider, we'll see you later.